But making sure that things are contextually relevant becomes really, really important. And what this means is, excuse me, what this means is every single person who is receiving one of your emails could receive something slightly different based on something that's contextually relevant to them. It was that good. You're repeating it back to me. The second key element is behavioral data, understanding what your customers are doing online and how you can then feed that back to them in an email. And I don't just mean cart abandonment emails. I mean, you've created an email on Monday and you are the CRM exec and you've sat down, you've created an email on Monday and it's going to go out on Thursday. But what if someone's been on your website between Monday and Thursday and you don't want to have to then send a random search abandonment email? You want to be able to make sure that the very next communication that they receive has got the most relevant information for them. So you can just populate something inside that email that talks about the behavioral activity that they've been doing. It might be abandonment search. It might be that someone was kept looking at a particular item or a particular holiday or whatever it might be, particular financial package, and you're able to then pull that into the email. Again, all live at the moment of open. And then the third element, and this comes back to the data that you have been entrusted with by your customers. And I feel like now, I mean, everyone knows about GDPR, and I'm not going to talk about that today. I think someone else has got the joy later in the week. But customers are now really entrusting you with data that they consider to be very relevant, and you have got a responsibility to give them back exactly what they need to see. It's no longer an excuse for someone to say, give you information about yourself, and for you not to use it in an interesting way. So by being able to pull in any of the customer data, for example, account history, I've got some examples of that later, and being able to bring it to life in an email. So we have these three core elements. And I think the email is very much at the center of the customer experience. But I think what's also really exciting is the opportunity that lies beyond email. You get a completely personalized email in your inbox and you decide to click through to something. What we want to then be able to do is then to be able to expand that experience and to take that very personalized moment that somebody had with an email and continue it onto the web. So in this particular example I've got for you, this is an email that someone has received. It's by Incredible Outdoors, which is a fictional outdoor brand. And in this email, there's a live poll. And in this live poll, you're asked, what is your favorite part of camping? And someone in this email, maybe they click on going on long hikes while exploring the wilderness. It's currently at 45%. You click through the vote, and that then takes you onto your personalized web page, which then actually includes information about what you clicked on in the live poll. So because they know from my email what my first name is, they pull that into the banner. And in the opening banner, because I've been clicking on hiking, we've got a nice image of somebody with a backpack on and they're going hiking. So something that's completely personalized and tailored based on the information that they've given you in that email. We've then gone a step further, and we've then pulled in recommended items based on what they might need for a hike. And then we've got hikes near you because we're using their location targeting. So we know that if somebody is opening this up in Edinburgh, we can then recommend them hikes in the local area. So it starts with that completely tailored experience in email, and it's then taking you through to the next journey. And what's really exciting is that we're also launching an ad display and in push notifications as well. So the whole journey can be completely personalized from start to finish. And this really, really is where we think everything is going. So we have a few customers that have already started doing this, and I'm going to run through a couple of your case studies now. We're here till Thursday, and I've got literally thousands of examples. Some of these might not be relevant for you and your brand. Do we have any financial services customers in here? Oh, kind of. Oh, thank you. You're just helping me out. Because I've got no examples for you right now, but I've got lots on my laptop for later. But if anybody would like to see anything else, then do let me know. But I just want to start with a couple of quite interesting examples, and this is just really a snapshot. The first is from Next. So is everybody familiar with Next in the room? UK retailer, large global online presence. Okay, people are nodding, it's a good sign. So one of the things that we're doing with Next is that we're pulling in behavioral product recommendations into an email. So this is based on the Movable Ink recommendations engine that's built into the platform. And what we're doing here is we're completely automating this process of the items that are being pulled in, and it's based on cart abandons that they've left, but really, really subtle. So this isn't a separate cart abandonment email. It's just being populated, as you can see, in the top of a standard newsletter. Is this still on your radar? Really, really subtle, really nice and simple. Down to something a lot more complicated. So this was a campaign for House of Fraser, and it was about promoting beauty. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to be able to encourage people to get a discount based on if they hit a certain amount of money that they spent. So what they're doing is they're pulling in Georgie. They know that her favourite product, and from her activity history, is this particular brand and colour of foundation. And this particular product is about £38. In order to get her to the limit of what they need to trigger the £10 discount, we are then going to recommend our favourite product, which goes with that particular item, which will then get them to the £50 mark and enable them to get that £10 discount. So quite clever algorithm built on our side, but also completely personalised, taking someone's known favourite product, especially in something like makeup, where people don't really tend to change very much. But then we're also going to make a recommendation and get them that £10 off, so they feel like they've had a great experience as well. Spotify. Really, really fantastic client of ours, doing some really exciting things. Does anyone here get the end-of-year emails where you find out that you've listened to like way too much terrible music? I get those. And in this email, this was from 2016, we've been doing them the last couple of years. What we're doing is we're going to pull in what each individual's most streamed music is, the month where you download the most music, whatever it might be. And again, doing this at scale to thousands of different people worldwide. So really interesting things. And this is a really nice looking email. This is visual. This enables people to want to then share it. Share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it with their friends. So this is a really huge element of what I'm talking to about the visual experience. Love this example. This is from the NFL, which just happened a few weeks ago, and this is using AR experience. So really, really fun. But what you can do here is you receive the email, and then you have a link which takes you to the AR camera. You can then take your picture. There's some nice filters, either 2D or 3D, and then you can share this live. And this launched at kickoff for NFL, which was really, really cool. As you can see, 83% of participants took a selfie, 27% of participants then actually shared it online. So really exciting, really engaging. And we've got some really cool customers doing this. Virgin Holidays have just launched AR for their holiday program. So there's lots and lots of different use cases for it. Again, really visual and really interesting. And then my final example is a client in the US called Books, and this was one of the first things they did on web, and they've since done a lot more things, and we're hoping to get some more case studies actually produced at the end of this month. But their first example they did with us was really very simple. They have a countdown clock. So simple. We've been doing it for 10 years. Really, really nice and easy. But what they wanted to do is they wanted to see, how does this actually work on web? So that's exactly what they've done. They've pulled you through onto a landing page, and they've got the countdown timer so that you can order early for Mother's Day. Really, really simple, really effective for them. 7% incremental lift in conversion rate. And what they're now doing is they're looking at how they can get a lot more sophisticated with their use cases for website personalization. So just a couple of examples there to show a small breadth of what you can do with a visual experiences platform. Oh, terrible brag slide. We have Forrester reports, if anybody would like to know about the total economic impact of Movable Ink, maybe want to take home to read on the plane home. But we're going to be here, as I said, till Thursday. So I think that David, can you give us a wave, please? I think David's going to be doing meetings with people later in the week, but do grab either of us if you'd like to learn a bit more. I've rattled through this, guys, so I hope we now have a bit of time for coffee. But I've really enjoyed speaking to you. My name's Emily, so please do come and find me later in the week.
Thanks, Emily. Great job. Do you have anybody else on your team here?
So David in the back.
Yep.
And then Kirsty here.
Okay, so you can connect with all of them, at any point in time. Okay, we're going to dance past the program. I'm going to introduce Diana to get us started out for the day. Diana, come on up. Well, that's on.
Good morning. Welcome to the Email Insider Summit. I'm going to take this out. So I'm Diana. I'm the programmer of all the content. I've been doing this since we launched here in Europe about 5 years ago. So what we try to do what we try to do with the content is put together, get leading brands from around Europe to share their email marketing stories and the issues that they have and the things they've overcome, and to hear some great stories that hopefully you guys can get ideas from and take home with you and use the inspiration in your own programs at home. So, as Jeff mentioned, this is a small conference. Everybody's going to get to know each other. One of the greatest things with the content is when you guys help participate. So not necessarily while everybody's talking, but at the end of each session, we'll have Q&A so that you can talk. So raise your hand. Say your name and what company you're from, and we're going to make you stand up. And throughout the show, we're going to be hearing about all of the issues that email marketers are facing, such as GDPR, community marketing, customer lifecycle marketing, and optimization, omni-channel teamwork, things like that. So we hope you'll find the talks compelling. And with that, I'm going to introduce our keynote speaker. We have Catherine Loftus, who is the Senior CRM and Product Marketing Manager at Trusted House Sitters. She is an EIS, she's a return visitor, so she's been great speaking before, and we hope you'll enjoy. We're excited to see her case study about what they're doing at Trusted House Sitters. So please join me in welcoming Catherine to the stage.
Hi, great to be here today. I'm here from Trusted House Sitters, and I'm going to share some sort of stories about our journey in referral marketing and how it has really helped us, particularly in this kind of post-GDPR world that we are living in. So Trusted House Sitters is a B2C platform business. I know there's a lot of B2B marketers in the room today and some consumer brands, so hopefully you'll all find something of relevance here. So who here today is a pet owner? A few people, me too. And I'm sure you'll agree, I particularly feel about my cats that they are my babies. There's this trend towards the humanisation of pets in the world today, and astonishingly, 25% of pet owners never travel. And a high percentage of pet owners who do travel really struggle to do so and often incur huge fees when it comes to boarding their pets. And the kind of basic premise of Trusted House Sitters is that pets are happier at home. So our Trusted Sitters don't charge to pet sit. Both pet owners and pet sitters join our platform because they are kind of united in this belief that pets are happier at home. And our pet-loving sitters offer their pet sitting services for free because they get to enjoy the companionship of pets in over 130 countries. And pet owners get to have someone come and look after their pets who they are sure really want to kind of be there and aren't kind of motivated by money. So I'm going to share a video here which just is a bit more from our members and why they love our product. Hopefully.
Oh, we don't have a sound.
Oh no. The perils of including a video in your presentation.
We'll make sound. Everybody can just... So sorry.
Has anyone heard of Trusted House Sitters here? Yes, Dave. Cool.
We still don't have sound.
Oh, there we go.
I think it just breeds that feeling of trust and that sort of gut feeling of, you know, these people are on our wavelength, and that's the experience we've had meeting people through the website.
We'd like to go away at least 1 weekend a month, and Trusted House Sitters has definitely allowed us to be able to travel as much as possible.
Definitely helped us have a lot of peace of mind travelling. It's completely taken away all our worries about going away.
The idea of putting your pet into kennels, for many people, is just not an option. And also, there's lots of pets that you just can't kennel. You can't kennel a chicken, for example. Having someone come into your home and look after your pets is a much better option.
It's been such a great experience, being so comfortable knowing that we could leave our pet and knowing that she was taken care of.
The arrangement with Trusted House Sitters is we're getting the service of somebody who wants to care for our dog, and they're getting a nice place to stay, and no money changes hands. I can only think of it as a win-win.
House sitting has definitely changed the way I travel. I travel more often now. My experience with Trusted House Sitters has been amazing. Something quite extraordinary happens when you're looking after other people's animals. It really touched my heart.
There we go. So that's a bit more about Trusted House Sitters. A few more kind of stats about our business. So we are the market leader in house and pet sitting, and actually globally we're the only brand doing what we do. So we're in over 130 countries now with members all around the world. One of the really unique things about our pet care solution is that we are for all pets and we are for all combinations of pets. So a lot of pet owners will, for example, have a cat and a dog, and using traditional kind of boarding solutions, you would have to find someone to take the dog and someone to look after the cat. Whereas with Trusted House Sitters, you'll find someone who can look after them both, or even if you have a small holding, a farm, llamas, you name it, we've seen it on the website. The business model is really unique as well. So some of our members alluded to it in the video that I've just shown, but no money changes hands between the two parties, which is just really unique and kind of breeds this great kind of community, which is really what I'm going to be talking about today. It's also for all accommodation types. So you'll find house sits on the website that are kind of beachfront villas, apartments in New York, or farmhouses, all types of homes. And finally, and the bit that really makes the platform special, I suppose, is the equity of trust that runs through the platform. So because no money changes hands between owners and sitters, the reviews and feedback that the community leave for one another almost becomes the currency of the network. And that's kind of how we build trust, and that's why word-of-mouth marketing is so important to us. So here's just a glimpse of some of the sits that are available on the website at the moment, just to help you get an idea of what it's all about. So we've got this amazing villa in St. Lucia, we've got an apartment in Shanghai, that gorgeous dog in Sydney, Spain, California and London. So yeah, 130 countries we are in. So on to referral marketing. So when our founders, Andy and Rachel, set up Trusted House Sitters in 2010, they literally sold their flat, they sold their car, and they bought a round-the-world plane ticket. And they literally went round telling people about this idea that they'd had and the platform that they were setting up. And the business was grown on that kind of word-of-mouth, grassroots marketing. And since then, referral has been so important to us. We have a really low CPA because we have this kind of groundswell of referral marketing. When people have had a great experience, they tell their friends about it, and that's just crucial for us. So as well as letting that happen organically, it is a really, really kind of strong pillar in our marketing strategy. And especially since GDPR, it's become even more important to us. Because of the fact that you are working directly with your customers to reach new ones. So like us, I'm sure many of you have kind of suffered from a lower lead base post-GDPR, and you're kind of trying to build back up your leads. What focusing on referral marketing allows you to do is actually reach potential customers in a really human way. It's a really natural form of marketing. It's not intrusive. You're not kind of doing brute force marketing. You're reaching people who you know are likely to be interested in your platform or in your business because you're reaching them through the people that you know already love it. It's also really high converting. So some research from Trustpilot said that people are 4 times more likely to buy a product or service if they've had a personal recommendation. And we definitely see it. Our Refer a Friend program actually converts at over 900% higher than our baseline conversion rate. So the power of that word of mouth referral is just essential. We've had to make some changes to the way we do Refer a Friend since GDPR. So we used to have a system in our platform where a member would put in their friend's email address and we would trigger an email out to the friend saying you're invited to join Trusted House Sitters. So some of you might be doing the same thing if you're running Refer a Friend programs. What we decided to do post GDPR to really kind of ensure that we were following the rules was that we now trigger that email directly to the member, and then we remind them in the pre-header that they can forward that email on to their friends, and then they, from within their own kind of address book, can then send off their email to as many people as they want to invite. We were actually a bit unsure about doing this at first because you lose that kind of a lot of the tracking in particular, but what we've actually found is that these emails now perform better because of the margin for human error when someone's putting in their friend's email address within the platform. They might quite often make a mistake when putting it in, but now that we're triggering the email directly to the member, to the email address that's already assigned to them in our database, we now have a 100% delivery rate. So in a way, that's actually been quite a positive step for us. So if anyone is kind of thinking about doing something similar in their referral program, it's really worked for us. I wanted to share this diagram, which is kind of the fundamental pillars of the marketing strategy that I'm building out at the moment. And I think it's really relevant for both GDPR and for referral marketing. So it's the fact that by doing really good marketing, it leads to what we call a healthy network of members. So any other platform businesses here today will kind of be thinking about members, but it also works for your customers or your connections. So it's basically saying the more you look after your customers, the more likely they are to refer you. And it just kind of, by focusing on referral marketing, you're kind of looking after your customers at every point in the journey, rather than just scaling things right at the top of the funnel and thinking about growth and being quite aggressive in that. It's a reminder that looking after your customers at every single point does actually lead to meaningful growth. And this is something that I've kind of used quite a lot when presenting to the business, actually, and showing how marketing, product and customer service actually all need to work together to achieve growth. It's not just kind of a marketing responsibility at the top of the funnel. So I wanted to share a metric called the K factor, which is something new that I discovered last year that's really relevant to kind of measuring and building out referral marketing. So it's actually the maths behind the mystery of going viral. So when I say going viral, it could be a video that's had millions of views, it could be a piece of content, but it could actually just be your referral marketing. I won't go too much into the maths, but it's K equals I times R, where I is the number of invitations that people are sending out to your product, service, or piece of content, and R is the rate at which they convert. So essentially, a K factor of 1 or higher means that you are considered to be viral or you have strong referrals. What I really like about the K factor is that it gives a structure for your referral marketing. So for marketing, you focus on getting your customers to send out more invitations. So it's essentially about ensuring that your product or your service is really shareable. And for product, it's about how you convert those leads. So you might look at having a different journey for customers who have been referred by word of mouth. You might look at what incentive they get, or you expedite them through the funnel because you know that they've had a personal recommendation. So it's really a holistic view, right from the invitation going out for the first time through to how you treat that lead when they come through. And it really links back to that kind of circular, driving a culture of constantly improving your product, your customer experience, and your customer satisfaction to drive more referrals, which then leads to kind of meaningful growth, especially as, post GDPR, we're all focused on kind of building back up our lead bases. So some research that I did recently showed that up to 62% of our members first heard about us through word of mouth, which means that we have definitely a strong K factor. But it also made me think that there's two different ways of thinking about referral marketing. The first is your Refer a Friend program. So that might be the discounts or incentives that you offer your current customers to encourage them to bring in new ones for you. But the other is general word of mouth marketing, which kind of sits separately to that program, and it's more about that innate sort of shareability. So a couple of years ago, we had an experience at Trusted House Sitters of going viral, which was amazing. So we had these screens up in the office where we show the number of real-time users on the website, and we noticed that it was like 2 or 3 times as high as it normally was. And what was happening was that we were going viral. It wasn't a piece of content or a video, it was actually just our concept. So it all started on Board Panda and got picked up in huge publications around the world, Huffington Post. We had coverage in India, Spain, Brazil, all over the world. And this is what it did to our website traffic. So we had a huge spike of traffic in the summer with a couple of peaks as we continued to get more coverage. But what you'll see, and what I find most interesting about this, is that the sustained level of uplift in sessions continued for the rest of the year, even once that kind of initial peak in coverage came through. And what that shows is that shareability, and by encouraging people to share your content, it actually has a much longer term impact than you might realise. So since then, we've looked at different ways to encourage our users to share our product. It's not always just in the context of being salesy or encouraging them to share their referral code, but it's just about just getting them to talk about the product more within their networks. So one way that we've done that is through Facebook. So we encourage our members to connect with us on Facebook to be part of, that's kind of our community channel. So we've got an amazing community manager, Angela, who replies to every single comment, which is just amazing. And what we see here is that our members, because we've engaged with them, we've invested in our relationship with them, and we're reaping the kind of benefits of that through referral. So you'll have prospects coming through saying, how does it all work? Do I have to pay for my travel? What is this all about? And before we can even get there and respond, our members are doing it for us. So they're coming through, they're really willing to share their experiences, and then at the end of a kind of exchange with someone, they might say, and if you want to join, please use my code and you can have 20% off and I'll get some free months. So that kind of community referral and the kind of conversation piece is really, really important to us, and it's a great way of building out social proof in your product as well. We kind of drive that through CRM. So this is one example of how we move members from platform through to social channels and get them to share. So when you are confirmed on a new house sit, you receive a trigger that says, great, you're going to Germany or wherever it might be, share your adventures with your friends. And we push you through to Facebook, where you can share the sit that you're going on. And then actually within the metadata, we embed the member's referral code so that when their friends click on the sit, they come through, they see that they can get a discount, and everyone's a winner. So I wanted to share now some specific examples about how you can kind of enhance your Refer a Friend program through CRM. So who here today does run a Refer a Friend program of some sort? Cool, a few people. So it might be that you'll want to kind of think about enhancing it or maybe setting one up. So the first kind of style that I wanted to share that's been really effective for us in referral marketing is letter-style emails. Now, I love letter-style emails because they break all the rules of email marketing. They're long-form copy, there's no big imagery, the CTA is really small at the bottom, but they really, really work for us. So here's an example of one. So this was a Refer a Friend email that we went out with earlier last year. As you'll see, it's really long-form copy, but it's really personalised in the journey. So this one was to people who had joined but had not yet referred a friend. So it's, you're already part of the community by having a pet sitter, but there's still many pet owners looking out there looking for a pet care solution. We make them feel like part of the tribe, like good people know good people, and I want to meet your friends. And then it focuses on the benefits to the member, so the fact that they can give their friends 20% off and they can receive 3 months of membership. And then it's signed off from our founder, and he did actually write this content, so it's really, really authentic. And here's the version that went out to people who had referred a friend. So again, it's really personalised because you invited friends like Sam to join. We've been able to welcome a new friend into the community. It's got that feel-good factor. It also plays on this feeling of being part of the community and has that authenticity. So despite these emails doing the opposite of what might be thought of as best practice, these letter-style emails drove a 48% increase in the amount of invitations that were going out when compared to the kind of BAU nudges that we had in our product, which are very kind of image-led. I've got a screenshot of those actually next. But it just goes to show that kind of trying something new and being a bit risky with your testing can really pay off. So here's the version of the email that we were testing against. You know, big, bold image, big CTA, but ultimately that more personal touch is what won out. The second program style that I want to share is this idea of gamification and storytelling. So this is at kind of the complete opposite end of the spectrum to the letter style emails. These are very salesy, they're very image-led. So these were run as integrated campaigns across channels that were set up as a series of competitions that were time limited. So our objective was both to increase the number of invitations that members were sending out, but then also decreasing the time to conversion from the people that they were inviting. So we used membership-related prizes to incentivise referrals, which provided a really strong ROI for us because it doesn't really cost us anything to add kind of time to people's memberships. Our KPI was the volume of invites that went out because it was kind of relating to that K factor. And it was a multi-channel campaign with CRM at the heart. So here's what the journey looked like. So it started out with an invitation email through to a targeted group of our members. We included this kind of greyed out element here, which in the heat maps we saw lots of people trying to click on that. So they're kind of feeling like, oh, I want to unlock my prizes. How do I do that? And then that linked through to the product, the landing page dedicated to each member where they can invite their friends. And then that email goes out to their friends that they want to invite, or they forward it on to them. And then that links to another personalised landing page for the prospect. And on that page, there's a picture of the person that's invited them and includes their name. So your friend, Catherine, has invited you to join Trusted House Sitters. And then through that journey, the friend joins through a kind of dedicated journey through the funnel. And then we let the member know that their friend has joined. We thank them for referring a new member, and then they have the opportunity to win a prize. So this is a really nice interactive tool that we use, that we were using called Odyssey, where you on the mobile you can kind of like really peel it back, or on the desktop you drag it back, and through that you receive a prize. So we're giving out things like lifetime memberships, and 3 months, 3 years. This is a bit more of the email journey. So it sort of launched with the big, bold kind of prize email. Then it became more personalised as time went on, so including real stories and real images from the winners so far. So it kind of made the competition feel real because we could show that, you know, real people were winning. And we kept the visual identity quite loose at the beginning so that we could include the pictures of the real people that had won within the banners, which was really effective. So using the real names as well, Maria and Mark have won, you could too. And then finally, that urgency message, which we found really increases the amount of invitations that are going out. And then we supported that through case studies and stories from the members who had won, so that we could both share that with our members to say, you know, real people are winning and you could be next, but then also using that content at the top of funnel to say, you know, here are some amazing members that are having great experiences. So, one of the things I really liked about this campaign is that it uses something called nudge theory, which is kind of around behavioural economics and different ways that you can kind of nudge people through your communications to carry out certain actions. So a really important one for us is social proof. And in the comms we included lines like, most members invite up to 7 people and they tend to be neighbours and colleagues. So it's kind of setting the benchmark that, oh right, most people send out 7 invitations, I'd better do the same. And they tend to be neighbours and colleagues. So because we were encouraging members to send out so many invitations, we suggested that they might want to think about neighbours and colleagues because they might have kind of exhausted their small circle of friends, and it encourages them to think wider about who they might want to invite. The second was reinforcement. So congratulations, you've sent out 9 invites, but the more you invite, the higher your chances of winning. And then finally, urgency. hurry, there are only 3 days left to win when you refer a friend. And the combination of the referral aspects, the omni-channel nature of the campaign, and these nudges led to a really successful output. So this was the uplift in invitations that we saw. So here was before the launch of the campaign. This was the big peak in invites going out when we first launched, and then a kind of sustained uplift with mini peaks that aligned to when the comms went out, and then the big peak at the end around the urgency. So if there's one strategy that particularly works for us that I would share, it is that urgency. So planning that in at the beginning of a campaign, so you know that you've got 3 or 4 days towards the end where you're really ramping up, like last chance, really works for us. So linking this all back to GDPR, I think one of the main goals of GDPR was to put the customer first, and that's really come through in the way that we're treating data and encouraging brands to be more transparent in the way that they kind of hold data. But thinking back to that kind of circular, which I think I've got here, this circular nature of how referral marketing can encourage you to kind of care about and focus on your customers, not just when you're first trying to sell them something, but actually through using your product and remembering that the better you look after them, the more likely you are to refer, in a way that that kind of links back to GDPR as well, in the way that, you know, if you are focusing more on referral marketing, it means that you are hopefully actually investing more in your product and the way that you communicate with your members or your customers. So my key takeaways for you would be investing in your referral activity can help you achieve growth through both acquisition and retention. So you're looking after your customers more, encouraging them to refer, and in doing so, you're driving more relevant leads into your base, and then you're looking after them more, so they then will also go on to refer, and they will also be more likely to continue using your product because you have invested in them in that way. When measuring the effectiveness of your referral marketing, I really suggest that you use invites as one of your KPIs so that you can see what that kind of viral spread of the activity that you're trying to share is. Explore different styles of email marketing, like letter style comms, and don't be afraid to break the rules. Try something new if you think it's going to work. And GDPR is a chance to really put the customer first, and I suppose isn't that what we were trying to achieve in the first place? Thank you very much. Thank you. I've put a cheeky code there if anyone wants to join Trusted House Sitters, or have a chat with me later if you're interested. But any questions?
Thank you, Catherine. That was a great presentation.
Thank you.
I'm curious about the content and how you decided to go sort of playing with the long form letter and no images. And then also, I've noticed in some of, I was looking on your website, and some of the content, it shows the people and then some of it shows the animals. And how do you decide which content to use?
Yeah, so we try and be, we're kind of moving towards being really pets first in our marketing. So thinking about tying to the type of people that we want to come into the network. We want to naturally attract people that are kind of pet lovers. So try and put the pets first. But then, yeah, we've played with the letter style content, so bringing that real personal touch. So when you're first kind of hearing about Trusted House Sitters, we go quite inspirational, so drawing you in with great imagery, cute pets, amazing homes. And then as you learn more about the product, we then bring in the letter style content, which kind of tells the story of the brand. It's bringing the founder as the kind of face of the business, and it's helping you kind of build that connection. And that's why we use a lot of member content as well. So it kind of comes back to that social proof as well. So seeing that, you know, real people are doing this, because we are growing Trusted House Sitters not just as a brand, but actually house sitting as a concept. It's really important for us to play on social proof, which again is why referral is so important to us. So it's about making it feel real. So I suppose it just comes down to what point in the journey and what point in the funnel that you're in. You know, whether it's about that big inspirational piece at first, and then as you go through their education, it kind of becomes a bit more personal, a bit more real.
Great.
Cool.
Do we have any other questions? Here we go.
Hi, I'm Koen from BSH. I have a question about the people who join your community. Are they in some way reviewed, or how do if you visit a pet or if you pet an animal, afterwards, is there in your journey some kind of a ranking, or is it not necessary in your community?
Yes, we do. So there's two ways that we do it. The first is the kind of more structured, so we have a verification process within the product which all sitters go through, where they verify their identity and can get a criminal background check and that sort of thing, and that gives them the badge on their profile. But then after a sit has taken place, they get a review from the pet owner that they've cared for, and the pet owner can then also receive feedback from that sitter. So it's that two-way kind of review system, which is, yeah, super important. And the more reviews that you have, the more kind of sits you can go on the more kind of amazing ones that you can get. So, yeah, it's kind of, we've got both the verification, but then also the kind of community metrics like reviews and ratings.
Okay, thanks.
Cool.
We got one more right here. Hey, raise your hand if you're using trusted house sitters right now. If you know them, if you've used them. Back here? I'm literally using you right now.
Are you?
Right now, literally, in the U.S. Yes,
Amazing.
I am, literally, yes. Mr. Holland, it's true. They're very good. It's a lot of fun.
What have you got, cat or a dog?
2 dogs, 2 cats, and a Gila monster.
All pets.
I'm already feeling sorry for the house sitters. Oh my goodness. Okay. You'll probably get a text later from his house sitter complaining about the... Dave Holland, Live Clicker, really fascinated on the referral program. One really important question is, I've only got a goldfish. Mm-hmm. Does it still apply? No, seriously. Do you think how much of an influence is the dog and cat factor in this? I mean, have you looked at other referral programs that are running similar campaigns with similar success without the actual pet factor?
In terms of kind of...
using the same methods but not involving animals, yeah.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we when we look at other brands, we do kind of look within the pet care space. But because a lot of our referral marketing, I suppose, isn't specifically about pets, so the founder's letter, for example, anyone who's got a strong kind of spokesperson within their business or wants to establish one, I think that's a method that could work for anyone, really, bringing in the realness of your brand, if you like, especially for B2B marketers. I think it's B2B, but we're all still human, and we're all people buy from people. So that kind of thing that could work for everyone. And then, of course, there is that, we're lucky to have a really shareable concept, and, everyone loves talking about pets and travel. But I think these kind of methodologies, the K factor, the spokesperson, and the gamification with those behavioural nudges is something that anyone could try. Thanks, Dave.
Okay, thank you. Panelists, you can come on up. We've got Kath Pei here, who many of you know from Holistic Email Marketing. She's an email industry expert. She's going to be leading the conversation, talking about customer life cycles and... Yeah. Please join me in welcoming the panelists.
Can we move you around? Can you switch over here? Alexander, can you go on the end? And Laura, can you go? No, Laura, you're on the end. I'm sorry. Alexander, you are.
You would have thought, with me having done so many panels over the years, the one thing I have learnt is not to wear a long pencil skirt to try and climb up on a seat. But never mind. Okay, silly me. So fantastic. So we've got a great panel here today. We're going to be talking about customer lifecycle marketing. As Diana said, I'm Kath Pei. CEO of Holistic Email Marketing. We're a consultancy, and funny enough, we do email marketing holistically. And I'm going to let the team go through and actually just explain themselves and introduce themselves. That'd be great.
Hi, is this working? Can you hear me? Yes. My name is Mairead, and I work for Rakuten. I'm the email marketing manager for the UK and Spanish markets, but actually based in Berlin, just to throw in some more countries. Yeah, that's it really. Yeah.
My name is Alexander Bjerkendal. Don't even try to pronounce my last name because you won't succeed. I work at Uber, and I focus there on lifecycle CRM management for the EMEA region then.
Hi there, I'm Laura McKiernan, Senior Marketing and Comms Manager for Chill Factor E. Just a little bit about Chill Factor E, because I'm guessing that quite a lot of people won't know what it is. We're an indoor snow centre in Manchester, the biggest one in England. And no, I can't ski, so I won't be taking the skiing lessons this afternoon. No, really excited to be here. It's quite nice, actually, to be at a ski resort, given that I work in the ski industry. So yeah, I've only been at Chill for about 5 months or so, so not too heavy on the questions about Chill. Previous to that, I was in financial services at Co-op for 5 years, and a company called We Buy Any Car for 5 years before that, so might kind of dip into those, given that I have a lot more experience there than I do with Chill.
Fab. So what we thought today, what we would do is I mean, we've got some fantastic brands here, lots of really, really good experience. And we thought that that's what we would do, is we would just delve into those experiences so that you can sort of get to know more about what it is that they're doing and how they deal with customer lifecycle marketing. But I wanted to kick off, first of all, so last year, Holistic did a bit of research. And what they did was they asked a question of for personalization, which actually, I think it was in Barcelona, I revealed some of it as well. But one of the things we found was only 29% of the marketers who actually answered the survey said that they did life cycle marketing, that they used life stages to personalize the journey, which I found really, really surprising. And you actually found that to be incredibly surprising, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's in this day and age, you're learning more and more about your customers, but there's still a lot we don't know. But the life cycle is like one thing we definitely do know. We know when someone has come on, where they're at along the stage. Like, oh, I've got a wonky chair. So that's something that we can really control, and that's crazy to me that so many marketers aren't paying attention to that.
Absolutely, and that's what I was thinking too, because, you know, we certainly when they're prospects, sometimes we don't know a lot about them, but the one thing we do know is that they're prospects. The one thing that we do know is that they probably don't know that much about us. So therefore, we can actually be educating. Now, who guys, I mean, what do you do? Do you have a good acquisition program, Uber?
So I think that well, we have tons of acquisition efforts. I think that what we do in CRM is just what you mentioned, so really making them get to know the brand a little bit better. I think that when it comes to like the efforts that we do, depending on the life cycle stage, it's very, very targeted. It's based on a lot of research and analysis, that where we find out what it is that these customers are looking for and kind of which barriers we need to help them to overcome then. And yeah, all of the efforts that we do are really based on life cycle stage, I think, at least from my side and my team's side.
Yeah. And so as far as the research, what kind of research do you do?
So it's a mix of both quantitative and qualitative research. So we have an amazing team who go out in the field and do on-site interviews. So EMEA being 49 markets now at Uber, I think, there are a lot of nuances to the insights that we're getting then. But they carry out this extensive analysis. My job is then to see how can we set it up in a scalable manner, because obviously I cannot tailor it to 49 different markets, how to use the app, whether it's images or whether it's copy that is working better, localizing the images with the skin color in Middle East versus the Nordics. All of these kind of personalizations is quite challenging at scale, but I think that we have great processes to kind of find that right balance between scale and personalization that Emily mentioned a little bit earlier.
So therefore, you're not just doing it, so obviously using dynamic content, is that right?
So yes, I think that all of the content is dynamic, yeah. Based on which language you prefer, based on where you are, yeah.
Yeah, so you're doing all of that kind of personalization. I love how we've gone straight from lifecycle marketing to personalization.
Sorry.
Because, no, seriously, because that's what lifecycle marketing is, isn't it? It is a form of personalization. And what you're doing now then is you're layering on top of that.
Exactly,
Everything.
exactly.
Yeah.
And to be a bit more controversial, I might be on the wrong panel since this is about lifecycle management. But I think that there are some initiatives as well that could span across different lifecycle stages. So if I don't know how many people are using machine learning or kind of prediction models to, see some nodding, to kind of predict user behavior, say churn or conversion, and then to leverage that to not place your user in a really fixed set kind of bucket, but to have that a little bit, additionally personalized in terms of timing to intervene with these efforts.
Again, what that then is meaning that you're not doing it. It is about you. It is about Uber. It is about the brand. But what you're doing is you're looking at exactly what Catherine was saying. It's all about the customer, right? So you're looking at them and you're not being rigid with your, okay, this is it, and they've got a linear process of where they go and how they go. But because you're using that predictive modeling, you're able to be a little bit more savvy with it.
Exactly. And I think that that's how you achieve the best results, right? By knowing how to communicate with you in the best way, or when to communicate with you. And I also think that when you look at predictive modeling, you also look at who is your ideal user and kind of how do they behave, and you use those insights to translate it into a content strategy in this case, to make sure that when I target you as the second customer, I try to nudge you in the right direction so that you behave the same way as my ideal user.
Okay. So we're talking about personalization, we're talking about customer centricity, because we're talking within the actual life stage. But Laura, what you mentioned earlier with the co-op, and how what you said was that you try to replicate normal conversations.
Yeah, so we within, if we're talking about the acquisition stage, we had a really great testing platform at Co-op. So I worked in the insurance business, which was only has about 2% market share in the UK insurance market. So it's quite a lesser known brand. Our Co-op food business, however, is the biggest food store company in the country. So we really needed to leverage that relationship, because that's how people knew about Co-op. They knew about Co-op food, they didn't know about Co-op insurance. So as I say, we did lots of testing strategies, and one of the incentives that we found that really worked well for us was giving away a £50 food voucher store. So it kind of leverages that relationship. It gave the customer what they wanted, because they wanted to be a shopper at Co-op food. They didn't necessarily want Co-op insurance. They needed it. And that kind of helped to meet not only our needs in terms of the insurance business, but it actually gave our food colleagues, I think it was something like 164% return on investment, and that compared to, I think, their best CRM strategy brought them in about 13% ROI. So it did really well from a business perspective, but also in terms of the customer, it gave them what they wanted, and also in terms of, you mentioned about replicating conversations. So we knew that when we offered this particular incentive, we knew that it would drive calls into our contact centre for people saying, oh, that's great, so how do I go about getting the vouchers? What's the redemption mechanics? Do I have to go online? Do I call up? When can I expect them? When are they going to be delivered? What's the restrictions? And we kind of knew, and we learned that those are the kind of questions that people were having. So we started going out in our email comms with triggered emails around those questions and just answering them up front and having that personal conversation. And I think kind of that's what it became about, was having that one-on-one conversation, replicating what would have been happening over the phones and in the stores, and we got some real benefits from that. Interestingly, at Co-op, because it's a very values and ethics-led company, again in the acquisition testing sphere, we did a lot of stuff around values. So I launched a carbon offsetting program there. and we're the first general insurer to have put that live across our home and motor products as standard. And because we know our co-op customers and we know that their values are really important to them and the values of co-op mean a lot to them, that campaign actually performed just as well as some of those incentive ones. So it kind of proved to us that actually it's not just about promotions and discounts, so we didn't have to give away something for free. We could just highlight this is our point of difference, this is why you're a co-op member and why you should have a co-op insurance policy.
So that's really, really interesting, because that is one of the things about customer lifecycle marketing as well, is that building the relationships, isn't it? So you're understanding, you're recognizing where they are within the actual life cycle, you're talking to them accordingly, you're building up that relationship, and that's one of the things that Rakuten's really, really strong at, as far as the loyalty and getting the retention happening.
Yeah, so those not familiar, I guess the way in UK and Spain, the way our platform works is it's like almost like an affiliate program. So you could shop at TK Maxx, but you shop through our website. And if you shop through our website, then you get, it's almost like cashback, but not as good as cash. You get like super points is what we call them. And so it's like it's like the loyalty, like it's almost like a win back, but it, like every day is like almost like a reactivation incentive, I guess, or so like the way it works, like if you shop, then you get points, and then you spend those points, and then you get more points, and then you spend those points. So it's like constantly, every time you shop, it's like winning back a customer every time. So then the best thing about that is a customer like drops off slowly. The reactivation campaign jumps in. Like you notice in the cycle where they are. They've stopped shopping, they've stopped opening. Then we just give them some points. Then they're back in, then they're shopping, spending points, getting more points, shopping again. So that's why the cycle's really important for us at that reactivation point, because we can just give them the points again, and then they're back in and back shopping. Yeah.
How do you actually, how do you determine what it is that they, do you have a definite, okay, they would normally, our regular shopper will be buying once a month or something like that, and therefore if they haven't shopped within that, we're now regarding them as being lapsed?
We have different tiers depending on the time that has lapsed since. So someone who hasn't shopped in 2 months has a different comeback incentive than someone who hasn't shopped in 6 months. And so we kind of tier it like that, dependent on not what they've bought, but the time that has lapsed.
Okay.
Yeah, which is why the cycle is super important in that case. It's not, you don't get more if you've spent more money. You get more if it's depending on where you sit, how long it's been.
And do you use a covert or an overt strategy for that? So do you blatantly say, hey, we haven't seen you?
Yeah, of course.
What's happening?
The first is always the we miss you email, classic. It's the first, it's like a bit of a tiered reactivation campaign, I guess. So the first is like, we miss you, what's up, where you been? Don't forget, like, this is our best sale right now. And then if still nothing, then the second one is like, hey, we really miss you. Here's some points, come back, please.
Okay. And have you tested that?
Yeah, of course. So what we found was really interesting. When we first launched, it was like a certain amount for 2 months and 4 months and 6 months. But then after some testing and some time, we realised that there's not much difference between 2 to 4 months. Like, we were wasting more money on the 4-month people. We can just give them the same as other people. Whereas there's still quite a big divide between 4 months and 6 months. And that's exactly, again, comes back to the life cycle. It's not about how much they've spent. It's exactly to do with time and how long through our cycle they are. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Alexander, you're saying that you're using the predictive modelling. So what is it that you do when you actually recognise that they're no longer using Uber like they used to?
Yeah, so if we zoom in on a reactivation campaign or churn prevention, whichever you prefer, I think that the strongest predictors are constantly recency, frequency, and tenure. I think that it's something that I recognize in every company I've been at before, and it sounds very similar to what you're using at Rakuten then. However, what this predictive model does for you, that is obviously not created by me, but by our data scientists, is to add an extra layer when it comes to the kind of experience that a user had. So whether you have recently interacted with a website or whether you have recently had a positive or negative experience, it adds some additional layers into. I mean, we can pull in number of referral sends, and all of these factors that can influence your future behaviors or your retention. I think that is what makes it even more powerful than a standard recency, frequency, tenure kind of life cycle segmentation, because you can be really sure that you are targeting them at the right point in time then. It's not 100%, obviously, and this is why everything that I set up then is, has a clear control group so that we can always see how much we would spend additionally on targeting based on life cycle versus the predictive modeling.
And I think that's it. I think we are somehow, as email marketers, we always want the silver bullet, right? We always want something that's going to work perfectly. I've heard of many, sort of like the mother care programs. Someone, falls pregnant, goes and signs up, and then something happens, but they're still getting those, emails telling you about the pregnancy, and they're no longer pregnant and everything. And everyone goes, oh, we've got to just trash that program because of that particular situation. This is life. This is what it is, and you're never going to get it right, not even with predictive modeling. We're all very, very familiar even with Amazon, right? How many times have we been buying a present on Amazon and then Amazon's letting us know about that particular product again, and we're going, we only bought that as a present.
Exactly, and on top of that, when you had a bad interaction with customer service, so say that you have an open ticket in the system, obviously you don't want to receive product recommendations from Amazon when you have just been writing to them that you're extremely annoyed about something that they have done to you. So I think that integrating it with the customer service ticketing tool,
I love that.
would also probably make it even more powerful.
So that's what happens. So if you've got someone who's had a bad experience, who's put in a complaint, it's like you do the hold off from all marketing for the now.
So I think we're talking about the dream world.
Okay.
It's not necessarily the case today. I completely agree with you in terms of recommendations. I think Booking does something very, very similar, that when you have been looking at hotels at a specific city, they keep on retargeting you on Facebook via email with places to stay at these locations. So it seems to be very, very tricky to really nail down that your CRM efforts then, but I hope that we're getting there soon.
Absolutely. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking about, because I'm trying not to verge too much onto the marketing automation, we're going to talk about marketing automation tomorrow, which is going to be exciting with a whole different panel. But one of the things I did want to sort of talk about is essentially how we need to start thinking about the strategy, right? Again, I've done lots of surveys and everything and asking about marketers and do they have a written strategy in place? 45% of marketers do, which leaves 55% of marketers not having a strategy, which often then means that we are often led by the fantastic technology that we have on hand, which is brilliant. But the whole idea is that the technology is there meant to help us as marketers bring our strategies to life, not to actually be guided by the technology and its capabilities. And what you were saying then, Alexandra, is often the case, is that we kind of go, well, technology can do this, that sounds totally awesome, let's just do it. Whereas we actually as marketers need to start to think about, well, actually, that doesn't really make sense for my consumer. And can we make it a little bit more clever? Can we actually start to think, so I'm a big advocate of let's bring marketing back into email marketing so that we're less, just campaign, I guess, email campaign or campaign email tacticians as such, but we're more strategists. So how does that work with you guys? Do you guys have a written strategy? Not to put you on the spot. I know you guys do.
I was going to say, she did it.
I did it.
I do. So yeah, as I said, I joined Chill 5 months ago, and I think it was like my first day that I met Kath, and Kath's company had done like an audit of all of our email comms and had made some kind of quick wins, longer term wins, and then some strategy recommendations to us. So we're in the process of trying to implement those. It's quite difficult. We're a team of 4 people, so me and then 3 others. So it's quite hard. We cover all of the marketing channels, responsible for the website, the contact center. So it's quite hard to undertake a big strategy piece of work on top of the day-to-day. But we've got to get beyond just kind of schlocking those campaigns out, because pretty much it's 400,000 emails a week that we send every Thursday. It's a newsletter. It's segmented by product. So lift pass, ski lessons, snowboard lessons, family of fun, and then everyone else. Who is this everyone else? They just kind of jump into this unknown category. So we kind of send them out, and do you know what? They kind of do okay, which is supportive of the fact that, email, you can, I feel bad saying this, but you can kind of do it badly and it still works.
I say that all the time, absolutely.
Yeah. I was thinking probably wrong crowd. But yeah, so we get a 15% open rate on those emails, and they convert somewhere between 3 and 7%. But it's our biggest revenue driver as a channel, and we're not doing it that great. And we've predisposed our customers to expect this newsletter to land on a Thursday with loads of offers in, because that's just what we do. And we're just sort of pulling on the financial strings as opposed to the emotional ones. So we have a great experience, and we offer something that's really unique within Manchester and the whole Northwest. But we keep going after the financial thing instead of the emotion. And come on, you had a great experience here last week. Come back and experience it again. Bring your family down. Bring your friends down. Have a great time. We kind of don't really leverage enough of that stuff. So we are in the process of putting in some of those tactics. You'll be pleased to hear, Kath. There are some sort of quick ones that we need to get in. So from an acquisition perspective, we don't treat a new subscriber any different to the way that we treat you if you've been to Chill 5 times within the last month. We treat you exactly the same. So we need to get that welcome comm in place, get that nursery program going. We need to sell the dream. So, talk about how amazing the slopes are and that Chill's kind of your enabler to getting there, and really sell them on those benefits. And then really it's about kind of nurturing that relationship through. We know that I think it's about 57% of our subscribers, of our customers will only go on to purchase twice. So that leaves a massive 43% that just have that first purchase and then drop off. But again, we don't do anything to nurture them and get that second purchase in. So that's something else that we're working quite hard to just get those things in quickly. Similarly, you guys were talking about win back. We've got a massive chunk of customers. 18% of our customers generate 36% of our revenue, but they're actually lapsing or lapsed already. But that chunk of revenue is just going to disappear unless we do something about it. So it's really important that we kind of get something in place to stop that happening or re-engage them and bring them back to us. And something there, we might need to go down the promo discount points. We'll do what we can to get you back. We really miss you on the slopes, that kind of message. But yeah, so we do have a strategy. We're putting it in place, but it's kind of, piece by piece.
And that is one of the things about the strategy too, is because we're all very familiar, right? We tend to have our KPIs are very month, led, so we have to hit certain targets by the end of the month and everything. And also all of our metrics or everything that we do seems to be more campaign led, so campaign-oriented, and therefore, one of the problems, though, I think, is that when we start to look at the customer lifecycle as an overall, it's probably more the customer lifetime value becomes that really overarching and important metric that we want to be measuring, but we don't always get to, because we're like you said, we're having to give those sales, give those deals, sort of give just to get those monthly. And this is for a whole next time new panel, okay? Because this is a challenge I think that most of us are dealing with, and we don't have the answer here today for sure. But I guess you've got a very similar situation.
Yeah. So I think as we are on the topic of lifetime value in regard to life cycle stages, I think that's another way of personalizing it even more, kind of identifying who are your high value customers and low value users. And you mentioned promos. We might not want to give a low value customer another promo if we don't think that it's worth it. However, the high value ones, obviously, we want to keep engaged and active customers. So those we might want to spend a little bit more on just retaining them. So I think that's one additional layer that you can add on.
Yeah, I think what you were saying before, so that's the daily battle for me. Like, you still campaigns out, getting the sales, but then is the entire industry really should be at the forefront. But when you're thinking about, no, I have to hit this KPI at the end of the month, it's finding that balance between like thinking about your welcome stream, optimizing that, and then the next phase, and then referral phase, and then the win back, and the sales. Like, finding is one of the biggest battles we'll probably face.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to open it up to questions. Can we get any questions for fantastic guys here?
Hi, I'm Micah. I'm an event and community manager with Tax. We're based in the Netherlands. I'm right. You're going to different markets, UK and Spain.
I don't speak Spanish.
If you design a life cycle campaign or something you're working on, do you have two different approaches to the different needs?
Yeah,
or
definitely.
How do you?
This is the first time I'm familiar, and we're quite for me. Don't listen anyone. They weren't open it. They haven't. So the way we approach things, that we have different strategies for both countries. Of course, we have the same stages. You have your welcome stream, you have your referrals, you have your campaigns and the reactivation, but they're at different times, and even down to like the time of day that you send an email is completely different in UK and Spain. So yeah, definitely testing things like that to getting to know the country and like Emily was saying earlier, personalising it to where they are is really important for us.
If I can add on that one, so today how I would look at it is on an EMEA level. Like, if we take a specific example, when a user signs up, have yet order at the website, which is the optimal date to intervene with a promo to make right that many people in here can relate to. And what we look at then is typically on an EMEA level, when can we intervene without cannibalizing on organic orders, and then to also look at it on a country level to see if there's any outliers. So say that in the Middle East markets, they usually take a year to convert because they're a little bit more skeptical, or they need a little bit more of the foundational communications around safety and things like that. just as an example. And then might be that in the Nordics they're super tech savvy, so they know exactly where to click and they don't need any kind of education before converting them. So kind of the barriers are different, and that also influences the life cycles, I believe. So preferably we would have a time on an EMEA level to not have to personalize it on a country level. However, just like you mentioned, it's very different from market to market, which kind of forces you to make that extra effort of personalization.
Yeah, and even on top of that, I guess for us in the UK, a lot of our customers are like 50 plus males, and so with the education, you have to educate them a bit more than the mid-20s who know how to use smartphones and can order whatever online in a second. With the older generation, you have to do a bit more education in your strategy. Add an extra email about how it works, how you get your points, what you can put your points on. Whereas the young generation just get that. It's like you don't need to send that email; they get it. It's clear it's a waste of an email. Whereas the older generation really need that.
Pierre from Discovery. Alexander, but I think that all of you mentioned this about customer support and life cycle. So you were saying that it's a dream to align whatever customer support is or whatever the life cycle stage people are. But have you ever tried a solution where basically the customer agent sees whenever I'm calling him in which stage of my life cycle I am, and based on that kind of changes the way it approaches me. So if I'm in my first 30 days, something that he might want to tell me, or if I'm like a churn customer, so whatever it is.
Yeah, so I'm not too familiar with the tactics in the customer service department, but I can speak a little bit more about how we kind of them in regards to life cycle stages. So say that if we go back to this acquisition campaign, and once again, I would like to help my customer to kind of overcome the barriers that they have on a local level, then I would go to the customer support team and say, hey guys, what are the most frequent tickets that you receive in this life cycle stage? Also, once again, on an EMEA level and then on a market level to identify any outliers. And then I would proactively communicate this at a good moment in time, typically a couple of days before the users would reach out to us on these topics, and proactively serve them the answer to their questions then. And this is obviously very, very different depending on which stage of the life cycle you're in, which market you're in. Yeah.
Yeah, so to add to that, similarly at financial services, when customers was coming up for renewal, we proactively sent the sort of frequently asked questions. So we did a lot of work with our operations colleagues in customer service and found out, what were the things that people were asking, and then went out with that, as you say, kind of similar.
Hi, I'm Raduniak, Travian Games, Germany. I have a question for Alexander. Definitely you have really amazing data and collecting it. I'm more curious, which channels do you use in the life cycle marketing? For example, you're just focusing on email, or also, I don't know, in-app push notifications, maybe even Facebook custom audience, and which is the most effective one?
Yeah. So this there is some complexity in this question, I think. To start off with the channels per life cycle, I think that it depends on partially what legal allow me to do, and partially kind of what makes most sense. So for an acquisition campaign, when I've just signed up, I would expect them to be very active in their inbox and read our messages. Whereas a less active user who are on the edge of churning probably those I cannot reach from via email. So I might decide to push the audiences that don't open my email to Facebook or whichever other channel might work. And because everyone are active on Facebook, right, and on social media, well, almost everyone. I think that might be the most efficient channel for that part of the life cycle stage. But then once again, it comes down to a country level. So whereas all of us in here have email addresses and we check them 7 times a day at least, probably more 70 for some. If we zoom in on Africa or Middle East, probably the majority of the people don't even have an email address and definitely don't check them. So there I need to focus on other channels, probably more costly channels as well, in order to deliver my message to them. But it's once again on a user level. So this might be, if you haven't interacted with an email, then send SMS or push audience to Facebook, or kind of start spending on making them see your messaging. Does that answer your question, or was there anything else? Yeah.
But would you agree that the email is basically the staple, the backbone as such?
So I like email for many reasons. It's free, more or less. It's like you have place for a lot of content, and it's very efficient for the markets that most of us are focusing on. So we're very familiar with it, and we kind of know best practices. Whereas take a Middle Eastern markets, their email might not be very, very efficient, and then we need to work out a new user journey tailored for them. So say that for the email you have the subject line that is kind of that is making you open the email to see the content. So we can kind of deliver the same experience through SMS by having the SMS being the subject line, then pushing them to a website which is a copy of the email, say. Might be more difficult to personalize in some instances on the website, but I think that's really interesting to kind of tailor your strategy depending on the market and the users, but still deliver the same kind of user experience.
Any more questions? Okay.
Hi, Anoop Girachi, Digital. So thanks, guys, for giving us some insight into your CRM strategies and life cycles. For me, just probably keen to understand your biggest challenges in doing it better, right? So a lot of stuff I heard around where you are in the day-to-day of building campaigns. This stops the strategy. But what would be the biggest challenges enabling you to do it better? Would it be accessing your data, lack of automation? I'm just trying to get that kind of golden bullet on what would make it better.
I think for me, the reporting side of thing is that's where all your numbers and data comes from. But like, that's definitely the most challenging part, is you want the right facts coming from like the right things. It's easy to be like, yep, looking at the creative side of your job and testing whether pink or red works better. But actually, I think email systems these days are really complex. You can do some amazing personalized things, but I think the reporting side of things is where we can still always like find more, do more. And for me, that's where a big challenge is. Like pulling reports isn't always like finding the exact numbers that you want, like finding the data you want. You're like, how do I get there? I need to do this, and then cross that with that, and then okay, then this people become these people, and so like I think hopefully with technology still always advancing, like systems and reporting is going to become better as we go, but that's definitely a challenge for sure.
It also sounds like, though, that's because and I'm not saying not every marketer, well, I do. I know there's lots of email marketers who will just happily report and then that's it because they're on to the next one. right? Well, it sounds like you're actually driven by a desire to actually be continually improving and everything,
That's
and
where
therefore
the
you
strategy
actually need
comes in, yeah.
You need that data. You need the results. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think my biggest challenge is personalizing the initiatives at scale. Then, so I think that's. We talked a lot about channels and the timing, life cycle, automations, and to have that person who kind of keeps it all together and have that holistic overview over the user on an individual level. I think that's extremely challenging, and especially when you work in a local team where it's very, very focused on executing campaigns and delivering on your results. I have the luxury of working on more long-term initiatives that can take up to half a year to deliver. So this way we can make sure that the initiatives are very thoughtfully executed and hopefully takes into account all of the edge cases that there are, obviously.
So yeah, I kind of agree with what Mairead was saying. So technology is a little bit of an issue for us. So we're trying to make improvements there and make more of the technology systems that we have. Time and kind of getting out of that weekly newsletter thing is difficult. But actually, the biggest problem that we're working on right now is that we've got some pen portraits established. I think we've got about 6. And all the data backs up that these are our 6 pen portraits and these are the targets. But actually, when we look at gender, age, salary, income, type of household that these people live in, we actually don't really recognise them as being our customers. So, which is quite confusing because the data tells us it is, but actually, if we go downstairs to sort of the main reception at Chill Factory and you see all of our guests coming through, if you've got your 6 pen portraits in front of you, there's kind of people that they don't fall into any of these, but apparently these are the majority of our customers. So we're kind of just trying to overlay a bit of common sense and a little bit of business knowledge and our own insight into them, because it's fine looking at what the data says, but it's all very black and white. And actually, if you don't recognize them, we're not going to be talking to them in the right kind of manner. So that's one of the biggest things that we're working on at the moment, because what we didn't want to do was launch headfirst into this strategy that was around 6 segments, of which we didn't really recognise them as being real people.
Thank you. Let's give these guys a round of applause. And then we're going to break for coffee. So we're having coffee now. If you have more questions, please feel free to corner these guys while they're trying to drink their coffee, and I'm sure they'll answer more.